Our featured guest today is Marcello DiCintio. He's the prize-winning author of 6 books, including Walrus, Travels Along the Barricades, Pay No Heed to the Rockets, Palestine in the Present Tense, and Driven, The Secret Lives of Taxi Drivers. He's also written for the Globe and Mail, the Walrus, the International New York Times, and Canadian Geographic, among others. He lives in Calgary. His latest work for Windsor's Biblioasis Press is Precarious, The Lives of Migrant Workers. Welcome back to the show, Marcello.
Oh, thanks for having me back. I do want to read. I'm gonna read a little bit from the conclusion. After talking, I think it's a good place to end it. So these are the last few pages of the book. Our country's migrant labor policies deny workers a pathway out of otherhood. This country granted the foreign workers of my grandfather's generation and their families a chance to belong, not just to work. They could exchange their foreignness for Canadianness, at least on paper. My grandfather fully embraced this. I remember traveling to Italy with my family when I was a teenager. Nono brought my sisters and me to the Moro River Canadian War Cemetery near Ortona, a 20-minute drive from his hometown. That he insisted we spend an Italian afternoon paying respects to Canada's war dead, soldiers he would have fought against during the war, testified to his deep connection to the country that welcomed him. But Canada renders today's migrants as permanent outsiders. When Sarah bemoaned everything she had to do for that paper, she was really saying she wanted to be unothered enough to reunite with her daughters. She knew that Canada considers such a basic human desire, the need for a parent to be with her children, to be a privilege not offered to the paperless. She knew what all migrant workers know, that Canada feels no obligation to people like her. We don't invest in their lives beyond the cheap labor they provide because they are not one of us. Perhaps they don't want to be, at least not entirely. We haven't exactly impressed our guest workers. I recall a woman named Gerlie Pascal telling me that she was not Canadian, even though she received permanent status years ago. I assumed she meant that Canadians didn't treat her like she belonged. I wonder, though, if Gerlie distinguished herself and her fellow Filipinas from citizens who consider themselves above low-paid labor, who exploit migrant workers, and who warehouse their own elderly parents. Maybe Gerlie wasn't complaining when she said she wasn't Canadian. Maybe she was boasting. As an outsider, she could see through our self-delusion and wanted no part of it. I suspect much of the delusion is believing Canada designed our migrant worker program out of altruism. The temporary foreign worker program is not a charity. Temporary work permits aren't akin to the winter coats Trudeau handed out to Syrian refugees at the airport. The official goal of the program, according to the government website, is plainly to hire workers to fill temporary jobs when qualified Canadians are not available. Not to ensure Sarah's children are cared for in India or to provide Julian's mother with a bigger house in Mexico. When the government evaluated the program in 2021, it didn't examine whether or not the workers' lives were improved, only the program's impact on the Canadian labor market. The policies aren't meant to give, but to take. Maybe one of the reasons Canada mistreats migrant workers is because we see them only through this mercenary lens. We define them solely by their functionality, by the singular task we've hired them to do. We assume they define Canada in similarly shallow terms, not a place to live, but a place to work. And yet, the migrants I met all transcended their low-paying jobs. They had a larger purpose than grinding out a bi-weekly paycheck. They worked for their futures and for the reunification of their families. They formed communities. They stood up against injustices perpetrated against themselves and others. As Raoul said to me, we help each other in the good and bad times. These are the values we consider to be Canadian. These are the same values my grandfather held. He brought more than just his labor to Canada. Hundreds of Calgary Italians mourned his passing because of the man he was, not for the concrete he poured. If we didn't identify my Nono by his labor, then we owe the same respect to the migrants who come to work here now. Migrant workers don't want much from Canada. I met no worker with unreasonable expectations. All Celeste and Griselda wanted was to be together. Gabriel just wanted the chance to be a good dad. And Neil wanted therapy for his daughter. Ryan to pray over her dying mother. Workers want bunkhouses free of vermin and workplaces free of lecherous supervisors. They want fair wages and fair treatment. Like all of us, they want a better life. If Canada were as Canadian as we claim, if we embodied the idea that we're no longer a white man's country, but a place that welcomes all, we'd feel more responsible for the migrants because of their vulnerability, not less. We wouldn't force them to choose opportunity over home while we, as citizens, take for granted we can have both. Instead, our treatment of migrants undermines our own fragile national fiction. Our failure to live up to our own billing has ramifications not only on how others see and will see us, but on how we'll come to see ourselves. By diminishing the dignity of our most precarious workers, we diminish our own.